Hello, everyone, and welcome to the And I Thought Ladies podcast, the Woman's Cave. Oh my goodness, y'all. It has been too long when I named the entire name of the podcast. The entire name, the And I Thought Ladies podcast. Ridiculous. Okay, I'm sorry. Now I'm done. I was on a little tangent. I'm just so happy to finally be doing something other than cleaning my house because stuff happened and I had to move an entire. You don't care. Right? You just don't care. And there's no Jade to make this funny because otherwise this entire story would be hilarious. But no Jade. So, it's just the narcissist and the narcissist wants to talk about themselves. Oh, I didn't mean myself. I want to talk about myself just in case anyone out there thought that I had dual personalities or something. No, it's not themselves as in, yeah. And I don't do the them there. So anyway, moving on before I make a mistake. I wrote books. It's actually a we because there's normally a Jade, as I said before. So we wrote books. Oh, wait. Back it up. I'm Wilnona. High five to me for remembering to introduce myself. Little dance. Okay, done. Now, we wrote books. They are the end. I thought divorce was bad, and I thought being grown up was easy. If only I were me, a memoir in verse. Foreign Coffee, Widow's Web, and Widow's Debt. That is 6 books. I'm missing a book. There's 7 audiobooks. Or maybe there's 6. Nope, there's a 7th one in the process, and I thought I did my journey alone. It's actually in the process of being recorded. Shh, don't let anyone know that I let you all know, because Jade's like, don't wait. Don't tell anyone until it's done. So yeah, that's why there would be 7. Y'all can keep a secret. I can keep a secret. Anyway, you can see the rest of our 11 books or 10 books, whichever one, since I told the secret it's 10 now. You can see the rest of the 10 books that we have on www.andithoughladies.com. And since I've really not made this a funny thing, I'm going to have to go with the car salesman one so y'all can at least have a small giggle before I get started with the actual professional interview. So here we go. You can see everything that your ladies are up to at www.andithoughladies.com. If you didn't laugh, check your pulse. Okay. But you're not here to hear about me, which is so sad because I love talking about me. As you can tell, I said I'm a narcissist. You're here to hear about our wonderful guest. Wonderful guest, would you like to introduce yourself?
Okay. I'm Elizabeth Garden, and I am not a writer. I'm an artist who wrote a book. And this is my book, Tree of Lives. If you've ever seen it on Amazon, it used to look like this. And then I redesigned the cover and the front and back. And yeah, it's kind of a thick book. And it's the story of an artist, pretty much a true story. And it's kind of a heavy book. It's not like a fun book until the end. Because it's a story about stuff that a lot of people do, like go through that people don't like to talk about, like estrangement. It has some heavy duty murder, and it's all true, and secrets, family secrets, hard parents, relationships with people who have problems, and what kind of influence that has on people, and what happens to you when you grow up with people who are troubled. In my case, I was an artist because it was really safe in my room doing artwork instead of kind of being around the scary stuff. So I was very lucky because this is based on, like I said, real stuff. And it's also illustrated with real illustrations from a real art career that amazingly matched the stuff in the book. But it wasn't like a diary or anything. It just happened that way. So it's kind of it's a scary book because it's a story of how I uncovered the story of a relative who murdered his family. And then my father was never allowed to talk about it. It was his uncle. So, and what that was like and how that came out, because things always come out. The truth always comes out. amazing. So it's a very exciting read, and it's available in paperback and hardback and Kindle and an audiobook.
Okay. I want to talk a bit about the happiness of what I heard in that, which was art. I
Hmm.
am always fascinated by art. So were you a painter, an actual artist with drawing? Did
I
you sculpting? What did you do?
Well, I in the old days I just drew because that was, a sketchbook and a pen is easy. But I went to art school and wanted very much to be a painter. So, but then life happened and it was really hard. I didn't know how hard it would be, and I had to work. So I got a job at a newspaper, and was actually I was too afraid to get a job like in art. I didn't think I was good enough to do it. Had no experience. I was taken out of college. I didn't know how to make a living. I drove a school bus, and uh, then that kind of, and then the story also talks about the men and the husbands and the boyfriends and that insane world of rock and roll. And anyway, I ended up getting a job at a newspaper and starting my career. And I illustrated stories in the paper. And because I was the only artist there, I had to look like different people to keep it not boring. So I got a lot of different styles to keep it interesting. And also, it was more fun to try different things. So I have a huge variety of styles and techniques that I developed. So a lot of people think that people kind of do similar stuff. Well, I don't. I never did. So so now that I'm retired and older, I do paint, and I paint. I paint. I have a studio, and that's my happy place. Very happy place.
Thank you. That's just amazing. Question. I heard in all of that the insane world of rock and roll. I'm sorry, you can't just say that sentence and then don't think I'm going to follow up. Why is the world of rock and roll insane? What did you learn there? How did you get involved in that world?
So all my friends were musicians. My boyfriend was the lead guitar player in a rock band, and I was part of that world, and I was the artist. So my job was to like do a little, like they had a mailing list, and we'd send postcards out to people with their gigs. So I illustrated them. I learned about printing that way, and this is like 70s, so it was old school, like either writing stuff by hand or with letter set, each letter at a time. It was no, there were no computers in those days for that. um and then I did the lights. I was and the lights were like four little sliders, four colors. But I would go to the gigs and I would like set up the gels, and I knew all the music, and it had, so it's great because even now when I hear like, the Doobie Brothers or Steely Dan or whatever cover songs they were doing, I know the cues. I remember all the music, So that was a really great world, except personally, it didn't work out with my husband. I married my boyfriend, and yeah, that didn't work out. So I had to reinvent myself for first of several times.
Reinvention is always a good thing to talk about. I'm sorry. So, going from the girlfriend of a musician, I'm sorry that we're going to talk about your reinvention because you came here to talk about a book. But I feel
No,
like
no, no,
the
it's all in the
many
book.
eyes of a tree.
It's great.
This is the rings around the tree, when they see and they look at the rings, you're like, oh, this happened this year. This is what we're discussing right now.
That's
It's
correct.
all in the book, right?
Yep, it's all in there.
So let's discuss a whole new ring. We're talking about reinvention. What kind of analysis of yourself did you do that made you go, okay, this is what I need to change and this is where I want to be? Is that the analysis you did, or did you just look at yourself and be like, let's just go a whole nother direction?
I didn't like what was happening with my husband. And well, first of all, he had a kid with somebody else. And I didn't like that. And, it was really hurtful. And I had also no relationship with my parents or siblings. So I didn't really have people to talk to. So I had to do this all by myself and like just, you know, he wanted me to take a vacation by myself. I mean, there's something wrong with this picture. And um and he had really bad temper and it was just miserable. And I didn't know what to do. And I accidentally met somebody when we were on tour in Boston. And I it was like the first time somebody was like interested in me. And I thought, ooh, what do I do? So I felt really bad about it that somebody was like wanted my phone number. So I remember telling my husband about it, like, oh well, somebody wanted my number. Maybe my stock would go up a little. And he's like, oh, that's great. He sounds really great. Why don't you go see him? And I thought, wow, that hurts. And anyway, months went by and I just, oh, the walls came in on me. I didn't know what to do. And, I tend to kind of just pray and go within and ask for guidance. And then a couple things happened that sort of pointed me in another direction. And, but we finally did get divorced, but we were friends and we like held hands in divorce court. There was nothing to argue over. We didn't own anything. We were just hippies. So that it went okay, but the next step was not a good one. And um, I didn't know that I thought at the time, because I was 21 or something, like I thought, well, there's either A or B. I didn't realize there was a whole other alphabet. There are all these other choices, but nobody told me that. So I had to figure it all out. It took a really long time.
As an artist, there is, I don't think anyone tells you exactly how to make money at the creative process. I think that's a problem.
It's
Like,
still a problem.
yeah, I was about to say it's still like, I feel bad because like I went to school, I started a career when I was like 10. And that's just the narcissist part of me. First time I ever got published, 10 years old.
Wow.
And I'm thinking at 12, there's step A, B, and then you land at C and you have a career. You have money and a contract. And yeah, no. I think if I hadn't started that young, at 20 something, I wouldn't know what the heck I was doing.
Well, by then you have reality. You got to support yourself.
Yeah, that's the
You
thing.
got-
It's like my mother was really great with that because I was like, I want to write. So I'm using notebooks, pens, pencils, just running through them because I'm writing stories.
Mhm.
My mom's like, no, I'm not going to keep buying notebooks. That's not happening. You're going to have to figure out a way for this to keep making you money to purchase your notebooks.
Mm.
So at 12, I learned about making money off of art.
Well, what did you do? Tell me the secret, because I still don't know.
So you get real inventive. That's what you do.
You get really inventive. I like
Hi,
it.
Jade.
Hi. Yes, Jade has joined. I'm sorry, y'all. I'm late.
Yes. And
Better
she's not
late than
coming
never.
on camera. You get real inventive. But I think it's interesting for everyone to find a way to make your money off of art. How did you fell into like an actual like 9 to 5 job? I have never done that. I built an entirely different empire. So I would love to know how you made this art into a steady business. Like, because you said you did bus driving and everything. Then you
Yes.
still had a steady 9 to 5 job out of art. How did you do that?
Well, I got this job at this kind of depressing black and white newspaper in making like terrible car ads, like little, just really bad. I was actually 8 months pregnant when I got hired. And so I thought like, I felt like I was wasting my life on this nothing, terrible, hunched over table, doing these things that meant nothing. And so one day I met the publisher. I was in the elevator with him, and I said, I was kind of nervous, and I said, can I, yeah, I just want you to know that I can actually draw, and if you give me the opportunity, I'll illustrate a story for you. And he said, okay. And so he gave me a story to illustrate. And then he left a note on my desk one day, and he said, please see me on Friday. And that, it was weird because my grandfather was visiting. My grandfather was like my one favorite relative, and I didn't really want to not be there for him. But he said, no, go ahead. But I was really depressed. I had to take a bus there because it wasn't the day I had a car. I was like, I don't know. Anyway, he goes, no, you never know what'll happen. So I did. I took the bus, and I got to the meeting, and the publisher said, listen, we need to jazz up this newspaper. I need you to start an art department. This is in 1982. And, it was real pre-computer still, but, I said, yeah. And so I did it, and they put me in the photography department. So I was around photographers, and I learned all about photography, and designing the pages, because my illustrations, I wanted them to look good. So then I had to learn how to design pages and make the headlines look great. This is old school still. And the thing about that is, to get paid as an artist, the salaries aren't that good. So I had to learn layout. So I learned layout, and to get enough money, because by then I was a single mother, and, I was like supporting my life, and two other lives. And, so then I had to keep making money. So I learned how to be an art director. I started directing photography and I taught myself everything. That's the best. I don't know what other people's experiences are. They probably teach this stuff in college now. They didn't have classes like that then. So
That was the point of my because I'm a writer, so I started at the absolute beginning with great
Mhm.
detail. But anyway, that was the point of my long ramble, my narcissist ramble. In the middle of this career, went to college, was like, they're going to tell me all of this. Now they taught me how to do craft
what kind of crap? Oh, you mean,
of writing,
okay.
and that's a beautiful thing to know. I mean, first of all, it's a beautiful thing to know just for communications and just for anything. I mean, if you're going to be in school, you got to know. But like, if you're going to make a career of this, there's a whole nother structure that you need to know.
Mm-hmm.
And I loved what you said, that I find very interesting in every artist story, be the actor to filmmaker to artist to painter to writer, just any artist whatsoever. Initiative. You took initiative.
Well, it's amazing what you'll do when you have to do stuff. You have to. I had babies.
Yes. Yeah, I don't know how you did that. That's amazing. I don't. Woo! No children yet. I don't know how I would do this.
It
So
was, yeah, it was hard.
we can read about all these struggles in your book, as well as a few more, I'm assuming.
Oh yeah, there's a lot of stuff in there.
You saw, like, when you started off, you're like, oh, this is really thick. I was like,
It is kind of,
right.
yeah,
So
I have to weed stuff out actually, because it's already like 400 pages, it's like a lot.
So how was it going from the visual art form to the written art form? I'm sorry, Jade, did you have a question after this? Okay. Your next question will be from Jade.
Okay, cool. So that first newspaper I worked for, they asked me to write some stories, like review an art show, and I also wrote a lot of headlines, because I had to make the page look good, and I always I happen to be good with words, and wrote tons of captions, sidebars and stuff. And then so in order to get a raise, I always had to eventually, after like 3 or 5 years, change jobs, because that's the only way to keep up. So I ended up as an art director of South Florida Magazine, and I did a magazine for Blockbuster. They had like an in-store magazine, and I had to meet a lot of movie stars and stuff. That was a tough job. And eventually I started my own magazine online. So then I wrote tons of stuff for that, because it was my publication.
Nice. Are you going to tell us the name of the magazine? I'm just sitting here in suspense. I was like, no.
It was called, it's still there. It's called Absolutely Florida. It was all about Florida. And it's still online at funandsun.com. And it's old now. And it's also done in old school style, because in those days, like now I'm talking about the mid 90s, there weren't design programs. And I just did it all in HTML. I just figured it out. And so it doesn't look like normal
Oh,
website.
I actually know what website you're talking about.
Oh, yeah.
Yes.
Mhm. I used to
We
go
actually
there.
do research, y'all. for
All
this
right.
episode, just a little bit.
Cool.
Okay, so you wrote for South Florida Magazine.
No, I art directed it.
You
I
art
did.
directed for South Florida Magazine.
I designed the
Magazine.
whole thing and art directed fashion shoots and photo shoots and all sorts of stuff, laid it out. It was fun.
Okay, the
So how
narcissist.
does that translate now into your author life?
Well, it gave me a lot of confidence that I know how things happen, how things work. And I'm really good at computers, pretty good at figuring out stuff. So I was able, I published this book myself, and because none of that's a mystery to me, like how to do something.
I love that. I love that you that's the thing, is that you taught yourself throughout your whole career. I think so many creatives need to know that, especially if you're gonna like self-publish something or something like that for the writing in, teaching yourself. Jade's next question.
I don't well, kind of like a next question / statement. As you bring all your creativity into the writing community, how do you think that that helps you help other authors to get comfortable in their skin, especially since you laid out magazines and maybe even know how a person might look better in a picture?
Yeah, that's true.
Help with that. So yeah, definitely give advice.
So, well, there are really two different things you're talking about. One is physically producing a publication, right? So that's one thing. And the other is photography and how to make things look good, because that's hugely important. Now, it took some time to like set up this shot, I like figured out where I should sit and how high I should be, and like what pictures around, because that's all, that's part of it is the visual. The audio, if in a thing like this, is also really important. Like when I watch a movie, I'm really I'm listening. If it doesn't have good audio, it seems like a bad movie, but that's that's a thing. So I don't know, it depends what medium you want to know about, but pretty much everything is online. Everything's on YouTube. How to do anything is, the whole world is, you can find it out there.
I love that about now, because we'll discuss it later. I was about to go into a tangent and I went, no.
Remember on that one show, right? And the person said, well, how did you learn to do that? He said, we Googled it.
Yeah, totally.
and then we tried out there.
Yeah, but you were so right. I just want to say the thing about audio, which is amazing, is they always say audio is more important than visual. And I didn't believe them. I was like, no, people want to see things. They don't want to hear them. Ooh, am I wrong? And then what it takes to get good audio is insane, yo. So if you ever hear a movie, you're like, oh, the audio isn't that great. They worked on it.
So, I narrated my book, and I like doing it because I wanted to do it because I wanted to be the one imitating the people, because I know how they're supposed to sound. And so I got a review from somebody, an Audible review or something, and they criticized the sound of the ceiling fan. And it's true. I mean, yeah, it's like something I didn't realize. And then the lawn guy goes by and you hear in the background, so yeah, you have to be like completely a perfectionist in order, and to me, that's the only difference between being, a professional and being good at something, is being a crazy perfectionist and making sure that, and you just do something a million times to get it right, or a million and one.
Learning pickups, and it's so much stuff that goes into audio that it's just insane. And so much stuff that goes into actually just reading a book in general. Yeah. So people are like, why don't you read? Because you're so good in person. And I'm like, yeah, no, I'm not gonna learn all that. No.
So you can listen to books. Listening to books is a great way to read a book.
Oh, I love it. I love, one of my favorite ways to read a book. All
Mhm.
right. So we're coming down to our last two questions because this has been well over 17 minutes, but I thank you so much for stopping in and being in the Women's Cave, or on the Anti-Thought Ladies podcast, because if I'm going to make a mistake, I might as well stick with it. Right. These two questions are: number one, what 3 pieces of advice would you give anyone that is considering making the jump from audio to I'm not from audio, from visual and audio over there into writing? And then lastly, where can we find out more information about you?
Well, for me, because I can only say what happened with me, because I did do it. I also had a deadline though, because I had a breast cancer diagnosis. So I didn't know, like, my story would ever get out. And it was sort of an interesting and strange story. So I had a deadline, a real one, and I'm okay and all that, thank goodness. But I didn't know. Well, you don't know, when you're going through that stuff. Anyway, I got up every day at 4 a.m. and wrote until, pretty much life got busy, so like 9, from 4 to 9 every day. And my dog would get up with me and keep me company. And then she still wakes up at 4 because she thinks that's when she's going to eat. So anyway, so that's what it is some discipline, but you don't have to tackle the whole thing at once, and you just chip away at it. And then in the end, I didn't really know how to compose the whole thing, but I had all the pieces. So kind of strung them together like pearls or something,
That's fabulous. So where can people find out more about this book? Buy it. Tell us the title of the book one more time and find out more about you, connect with you.
Okay, so Tree of Lives is on Amazon, and you have to say Tree of Lives by Elizabeth Garden, because I don't know, Amazon, it does, even if you write the exact words, they show all these other things. So anyway, so by Elizabeth Garden. So that will, and there's a good Author Central page attached to that. I'm doing some more marketing because I want to tell people about my new cover. And of course, I want people to buy the book. So, and I'm learning, this is a whole new world for me, this, like, how to market your book. It's not my favorite thing to do, but it's cool and it's new. So I'm enjoying learning about it. And treeoflives.net will take you to the website about the book. And you'll get a much better idea. There's some videos on there and other interviews I've done. And, like, you can get in touch with me. I'd love to hear from you.
Okay, thank you so much for joining us on the show today.
Oh, thanks so much for having me. It was real fun.
Jade, would you like to go ahead and wrap us up?
Absolutely. You can find out everything your ladies are doing on www.andithoughladies.com. While you're there, go to the middle of the page to the charities that we proudly support. If you can support them also, we thank you in advance for that. And just remember, y'all, wisdom is all around you if
you're open to finding it and accepting it. So peace and love, you guys, from Will Nona
and Jade. Bye-bye. Oh, yeah. Thanks for listening.